Ben Shapiro, you're followed by millions of people online and on social media. You're one of the biggest names in American conservatism. What is it you think you're tapping into?
Well, I think that there are a couple of things. The monolithic nature of the United States media is pretty evident in terms of its politics. I am going to speak out whenever I think that a principle is being violated, just no matter who is doing the violation.
Really, Ben? You sure about that? Because you've been simping for a genocidal apartheid state entire length of your career. Where did he get that jacket? Joseph A. Banks? That's the thing. He has no aura. He's completely non-rizzed. He's like, he's the kind of person that was never stuffed into a locker in high school, and it shows. First impression of listening to Ben Shapiro was like, what? Like, this was years ago, you know? Like, how are people listen to this person and take what he says seriously? Look at him. I mean, I hate to make ad hominem, but that's only because I've actually listened to him and found that nothing of substance.
Us in favor of a candidate that it sought to back.
He's just like this nerdy, like, meow, meow.
Discussion inside the conservative movement. I don't think that's correct at all. I think that most Republicans see President Trump as a vehicle for their policy preferences, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they agree with all of his personal foibles or the way that he behaves or the things that he
just said foibles. Who drops foibles in a conversation nonchalant? I don't think so, buddy. I don't think so, buddy.
says. And I think a lot of Republicans respond.
Do another Ben impersonation? That's all. I have to listen to him more and I'll pick up some things. I noticed that he says values. This is just our conservative values. And I think if we can stick to our values, obviously we can't build a movement around Charlie Kirk because he's dead. But if we can build the movement around his values, which is our values. He said something to that effect. Where is this mother from, you know? I know it's not Promised Land. Watch it be Kansas. I'm gonna be like, oh my God. Nope, he's from Los Angeles. He's from Jollywood. He's from Zollywood.
I mean, frankly, I'm confused by the idea that any of those are particularly new ideas. I mean, most of those ideas have been around since Franklin Delano Roosevelt at the very earliest.
Frankly, I'm baffled as to see what would be the point of giving people health care and allowing them to be educated and having a decent wage and decent living. They're supposed to work for the Jews.
Or at the very latest, rather. Some of them go all the way back to Woodrow Wilson. But the idea that new ideas are absent in the Republican Party is obviously untrue. We have a very...
The idea that people are free and not supposed to be slaves to Israel is just is baffling to me. I can't understand it.
A strong debate that goes on inside sort of the conservative halls of intelligentsia about what is the appropriate action to take with regard...
The idea that people shouldn't be slaves is tyranny.
To the medical system. Should global warming be considered a real threat, or should global warming be considered intellectual debate on the right about nationalism versus patriotism, for example? That debate is happening on the right to sort of suggest that the right in America is bereft of ideas, but the left is full of ideas. Number one, not all ideas are good ideas. I mean, AOC is pretty good evidence of that. I'm a big fan of some old ideas myself that I think are pretty good. But beyond...
like racism and slavery.
That, I think that it is intellectual sneering of the highest order to suggest that only the left has new and decent ideas.
Some of the...
Dude, you know, conservatives like Ben Shapiro, they're extreme reactionaries. Nothing must change. Yeah, name one. Exactly, simplistic. Name one new idea out of conservative Republicans that isn't neoliberal garbage, which has been dominating every public sphere in our society. But, you know, we know that reactionaries don't like change. They fear change, you know? And one thing we know about history is that it's always changing. It's always dynamic. It's always evolving. So, you know, that's why reactionaries are so out of touch. I mean, they're in touch for a certain period of time because... As we know, capitalists and capitalism was a revolutionary force and a revolutionary class at its birth because it overcame feudalism. So that was a revolution, you know, it upended the prevailing hierarchy. But as soon as the capitalist class settled in, the bourgeoisie, as they are referred to, the merchants and manufacturing class, as soon as they settle into being the dominant class, they themselves become reactionary because they're exploiting the working class. The proletariat. Now the proletariat becomes they inherit the mantle of struggle, of class struggle that the capitalists, the bourgeoisie had preceding them.
Side of politics would seem to take us back to the Dark Ages. Georgia, new abortion laws, which you are much in favor of, that a woman who miscarries could get 30 years. A Georgian woman who travels to another state for an abortion procedure could get 10 years. These are extreme hard policies.
Well,
They're extreme, they're stern, but they are fair.
Okay, a couple of things. One, I'm not sure. I mean, frankly, I don't know whether are you an objective journalist or are you an opinion journalist?
I'm a journalist that asks questions.
He's calling out the integrity of his interlocutor.
Okay, so you're a supposedly objective journalist calling policies with which you disagree barbaric and suggesting only one side of the political aisle has
shots
ideas.
fired.
So I just want to point out that I wish you would at least be honest in your own biases.
Mr. Shapiro, I know
are you a member of
broadcasting in America is now so polarized that on one program you only have the left, and another one you just have the right. My job is to question those who have strong views and put an alternative to them. If you were an anti-abortion person, I would be putting pro-abortion questions to you. But you are
really would you call the
Yeah, Ben, why are you getting so defensive and taking it personal and getting in your fifis? Little Benny boy, little BB Shapeepee.
Pro-choice position.
So why don't you
let me
just
ask
answer my question?
Sir, I'm happy to answer your question. Please answer this one. Would you suggest that a late-term abortion is brutal?
I'm not taking a view on this issue. I'm asking you the questions.
Sir, you just suggested the pro-life position is inherently brutal and terrible, so I'm asking you, as an objective journalist, would you ask the same question to a pro-choice advocate by calling their position brutal and horrible?
What I'm asking you is that why is it that a bill banning abortions after a woman has been pregnant for 6 weeks is not a return to the Dark Ages? What's your answer?
My answer is something called science. Human life exists at conception. It ought to be protected. Now, back to my question to you. You purport to be an objective journalist. BBC purports to be an objective down-the-middle network. It obviously is not. It never has been. And you, as a journalist, are proceeding to call one side of the political aisle ignorant, barbaric, and sending us back to the Dark Ages. Why don't you just say that you're on the left? Is this so hard for you? Why can't you just be honest? Seriously, it's a serious question.
You're my enemy.
Mr. Shapiro, if you only knew how ridiculous that statement is, you wouldn't have said it. So let's move on.
I don't like talking to people that are mildly critical of my views.
Would you vote for Mr. Trump?
I think it's pretty evident from your own questions exactly what you are, sir.
Would you vote for Mr. Trump in 2020?
The curlies are
I'd certainly consider voting for Mr. Trump in 2020, just like I'd consider voting for anybody else in 2020.
But didn't you once say that you'd never vote for him?
I said that I wouldn't vote for him in 2016. And then I wrote a column for National Review explaining the conditions under which I might change my mind.
You're a culture war warrior. Isn't he largely on your side? You wrote once it was unlikely he'd appoint conservative judges to the Supreme Court. He has.
Right.
So you were wrong.
I like many of President Trump's policies, even if I still have serious reservations about his personality and character.
And you're Jewish yourself. I only mention that because to put this in context. The Jews who vote for Obama are, by and large, Jews in name only.
Yes, that's right. They're ginos.
Ginos, you call them.
My statement was based on the fact that Jews in the United States, as an ethnic group, are largely...
As opposed to BB Shapeepee, who's a Gina.
...irreligious, which is true by every single poll. Jews are the most irreligious group in the United States.
Of the variety.
As an Orthodox Jew who actually takes Judaism seriously, the point that I am making is that most Jews who are ethnically Jewish are not religiously Jewish in any context.
Man, there's just so many different ways to be Jewish, you know? You could be Jewish, you could be Orthodox Jewish, you could be culturally Jewish, you could be deliciously Jewish, or you could be hilariously Jewish. Benny Boy is all 4 or 5 of them.
No. The point you were making is that Jews who vote for Obama are Jews in name only.
I said that, yes, that is correct, that Jews who voted for Barack Obama, a progenitor of the Iran deal, a person who was cracking down on religious liberty, a person who spent...
I mean, when you narrowly identify people based on their religious ideology, I think that is wrong. It's like, Jews voted for this. No, they are, you know, what's their income? Where are they on the income scale? You know, like the guy says, a culture war warrior, but oh boy.
Spent much of his career as president of the United States attempting to deprive Israel of the necessities to defend itself. That people, Jews who voted for President Obama, by and large, cared about Judaism far less than they did about other priorities.
Yes, exactly. Other priorities being what? Their rights to a decent living with human dignity. Their position in the economy. The religious aspect is of secondary, tertiary importance.
Did you say they should turn their badge in as a Jew? Turn their badge in.
Does every Jew get a badge? I didn't know. If I just decide to become a Jew, do I get a badge then?
Yes, I believe that if you are somebody who takes Judaism seriously, that comes along with ideological commitment.
I mean, I guess...
Also, I hope you're having fun, by the way, going through every old tweet that I've ever sent to try and do gotcha questions. But if you'd like to have a discussion about my general philosophy or things I've done in, say, I don't know, that was 2012, so it's now 2019. If you'd like to discuss something I've done in, say, like the past 5 years, why don't we do that? How about that?
because your book is a criticism of how angry America is and how America has to do better. And I'm simply
I have
trying
an entire
to point
list
out,
on my website, sir. On my list, I have an entire website of dumb,
I'm
bad
simply
things
trying
that
to
I've
point
said.
out some of the things you've said that seem to me to help to stoke that anger. For example, you said
Sure.
Israelis like to build, Arabs like to bomb crap and live in open sewage.
Well, as I say in an article entitled, "Here's a list of all the giant, bad, dumb things I've ever said."
Was that
list includes
dumb?
Yes, that's a dumb tweet, and not only, but it is also important to mention that the next
I'm surprised that he would even acknowledge that. Good for you, Ben.
few tweets clarify that that tweet is specifically referring to the Hamas leadership, which, by the way, a BBC I've seen is relatively reticent to condemn.
Although, like, you know, 5 years later, he's responding to my TikTok and he's talking about, he's basically saying the same thing, that just like to live in squalor and things.
No, actually, it wasn't.
He doesn't really take it back. He might disavow the tone, but he legitimately believes that.
You went on to do and say, you are correct about the slur on Arabs. It's not all Arabs that want to live in open sewage and blow things up.
Think about how racist that is. And he was just talking about double standards and how he's a victim of it. You know, it's ridiculous.
Just Palestinians, you went on to say.
No, it says the ones who take sides against Israel in the Israel-Palestinian.
The P word has just been the gloves are off,
The
folks.
population is rotten to the core, you went on to say. Not Hamas, the Palestinian Arab population.
That by poll numbers, they elected Hamas. They educate their children in school that Israel should be obliterated, sir.
I guess.
If you want to read, honestly, this is a giant waste of time in the sense that the entire interview is designed for you to shout slogans or old things that I've said.
No, he's like, how dare you use my words against me and have me answer for them? I'm out of here. I'm Ben Shapipi.
At me. I don't see how this forwards the debate. You talk about undermining the public discourse. It seems to me that simply going through and finding lone things that sound bad out of context and then hitting them with, and then
he's like, yes, I said that they should live in sewage and like the things because they're a despicable, but you're taking that out of context. I was actually just talking about a movie.
Hitting people with them is a way for you to make a quick buck on BBC off the fact that I'm popular and no one has ever heard of you.
There are not many bucks to be made on the BBC, unlike American broadcasting, Mr. Shapiro. The point I'm trying to make is that your words are highly designed.
Wow. He's like, really, I think Ben is really hurt. I think he probably is gonna need to hyperventilate after this interview.
To produce the consensus and understanding that the book seems to want to produce. That's my point, that you write about, Judeo-Christian culture and so on, but so much of what you've said in the past would seem to turn its back on Judeo-Christian culture.
Never make a Jew feel uncomfortable.
You're lecturing me on Judeo-Christian culture after you call the pro-life position barbaric?
I just asked you a question.
And I asked you a question. You failed to answer a single one of mine. Frankly, I find this whole thing a waste of time. If you want to read the book and critique the book, why don't you read and critique the book? If you want to critique me, you can think whatever you want of me.
Why don't you
frankly,
just try and
I don't
answer
care.
the
I don't
questions?
frankly give a damn what you think of me since I've never heard of you.
Oh my God.
And I've never heard of you until I briefed myself for this. But that's not the issue. You haven't.
It's a pissing match. It's now a pissing match.
How are you interviewing me, sir?
It's an interesting book. But my point is, your book claims that
society... Well, it'd be nice if you would quote it from time to time.
Your book is... Well, actually, I've done so several times, and I'm about to do so again, if you would let me just finish the question. Your book
frankly,
claims
I don't think
that society is turning its back on Judeo-Christian values.
He's like, I'm exiting.
What are those values? What are the values it's turning its back on?
He's like, I've got to go. I need to go use the bathroom. Sorry, I have explosive diarrhea. I got to go.
I'm not inclined to continue an interview with a person as badly motivated as you as an interviewer. So I think we're done here. I appreciate your time, sir.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time and for showing that anger is not part of American political discourse. Now, Mr. Shapiro, we'll say goodbye.
I like how he reached for a wire that wasn't there. He's like, he was trying to do the get out of there. But there was nothing. He didn't have his prop. Yeah. Ben Shapiro pants at the end. He had to get out of there. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe to the page to help it grow. And if you'd like to support my work, join my Patreon for exclusive content.